Good morning. It's November 24th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. How bad could it get for Joe Biden? Wednesday, I discussed why he's trailing Donald Trump in most polls, but I would also caution this is just a snapshot in time, and a year out from the actual election is a lifetime in politics. Events could occur that would change the numbers in this election in a nanosecond, but absent some major event, Biden looks to be in trouble, and his failure to understand it only serves to underscore the problem. As I said Wednesday, there are positive signs in the economy, and it looks like the recession that everyone feared might not occur. Much of that can be attributed to the Federal Reserve finally waking up and raising interest rates. They had stood ridiculously low levels for the past several years. But there are also other problems facing Biden, and once again, he and his team have ignored them for the past 3 years, and now the public's holding them accountable. Let's start with crime. According to the FBI's annual crime report, homicides did fall a little more than 6% nationally between 21 and 22, but remained 25% above the 2020 levels. Meanwhile, carjackings and other property crimes have risen. In the nation's capital, where murders are up 38% this year, the lone major supermarket in one of Washington's poorest neighborhoods may be forced to close due to the increase in theft. In California, where smash and grab robberies have become commonplace, the latest crime trend involves using stolen cars to ram through a storefront and then loot the establishment. Statistics aren't compiled for ram raiding cases, but local and federal law enforcement officials say they've seen a sharp uptick in the past year and an overall rise in property crime. Mobs of young people are entering stores and basically looting them as they go on shoplifting sprees. And it's not limited to high-end merchandise stores. It's hitting grocery stores, drugstores, and just about any other store they can see vulnerable. And the corporate stores are not doing their job to stop this crime wave. Target complained to the police, but then told them they did not want anyone arrested in the store because they didn't want somebody videoing it and getting bad publicity. What many drugstores are doing is putting a lot of products behind a locked screen. Others are limiting how many people can get into the store at any one time. That's how bad it's gotten. And how has Joe Biden reacted to all this bad news? Well, first he denies it and says he does not look at polls. But earlier this month, he was caught arguing with reporters about the accuracy of the New York Times poll. That poll showed him trailing Trump in 5 of the key swing states that will decide the election. Next up, we have a housing problem. With the Fed being forced to raise interest rates, it caused mortgage rates to increase as well. When Joe Biden came into office, you could get a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage at about 3%. That same mortgage will now cost you 7%. That means the monthly payment on that mortgage has basically doubled. It starts to impact the housing industry at all levels. That young family looking for their first new home now have to postpone, hoping the rates will drop. It's probably going to be at least 3 years before they get back down. And that means the family that's looking to buy a larger home cannot sell the one they're in, so they cannot buy. And up the ladder this goes. Then we have the southern border problem. Biden and Democrats in general ignored this problem, and time after time, administration officials would declare that the border was secure. Of course, the American public would watch the news and know that was a fallacy. Administration officials were flat out lying to them. Then governors along the border states started shipping these illegal immigrants to large cities in the north. Suddenly, cities like New York, Chicago, Boston, and Philadelphia were being inundated with immigrants, and they lacked the resources to take care of them. These are the so-called sanctuary cities who previously said they welcomed all immigrants. And this past week, the mayor of New York declared that he would have to cut police hours and other parts of the budget to fund for the care of these immigrants. Democrats, other than Joe Biden, have finally woke up to the problem, and they're not happy. But it's difficult for the administration to pivot on this issue and now declare the border is not secure when they've been saying it's secure for so long. Joe Biden is not seen as a strong leader. Some of this is attributable to the age issue. He looks weak and feeble in public. He stumbles and makes repeated verbal gaffes. He repeats stories that are patently false. Just the other day, he said that he had an appointment to the Naval Academy and intended to play football, but seeing they had Roger Staubach, he opted to go to Delaware. And he said this in the past, and fact checkers said it's made up and not true. But he continues to tell these stories designed in his own mind to either enhance his stature or to gain some empathy with the group he's talking to at the time. But people now understand that much of what he says about his background is simply not to be believed. I also think for the first time, a majority of Americans are starting to focus on the national debt. It now exceeds $33 trillion and will grow another $2 trillion in the coming fiscal year. The public's worried that the interest on this burgeoning debt will begin to suck much of the federal budget. It will mean an American family, and they're finally understanding this fact, that other services provided by the government will have to fall by the wayside. You couple these problems with the growing belief that our economy is not headed in the right direction, no matter what Biden says, and the people are starting to think a change for the better is in the air. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.